The red dust of Mars swirled around the entrance of the newly discovered cave system. Dr. Marcus Reed stood at the threshold, his heart pounding inside his environment suit. After 3 years of searching, his team had finally found something that didn't look natural: geometric patterns carved into the rock, too perfect to be formed by wind or water. "Base, this is Reed. We're going in," he said into his radio, checking his oxygen levels one more time. The beam from his helmet light cut through the darkness, revealing walls that were definitely not formed by nature. They were smooth, with regular patterns that spoke of intelligent design. Behind him, Tom and Jack, his most trusted team members, swept their lights across the walls, capturing everything with their cameras. The passage sloped downward, leading them deeper into the heart of the red planet. After about 50 meters, the tunnel opened into a large chamber that made all 3 men stop in their tracks. "My God," Tom whispered, his voice filled with awe. The chamber was a perfect hexagon, its walls covered in what could only be described as writing. But it wasn't just one type of writing. There were dozens, maybe hundreds of different scripts and symbols, arranged in neat panels around the room. Marcus approached the nearest wall, his hand shaking as he raised it to touch the surface. The material felt cool even through his gloves, and he noticed that it gave off a faint phosphorescence where his fingers made contact. "This isn't just writing," he said, his scientific mind racing to make sense of what he was seeing. "These are messages, different species, different times, all leaving their mark in the same place." Jack moved to another section of wall, running his scanner over the symbols. "Some of these patterns match nothing in our database," he reported. "But look at this. The material they're written on is at least 100,000 years old." Marcus moved from panel to panel, his excitement growing with each new discovery. Some of the messages used mathematical symbols that were recognizable, while others employed complex 3-dimensional patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. But as they began the painstaking work of documenting everything, something strange emerged. "There's a pattern here," Tom said, his voice tense. "I'm running these through our basic translation matrix, and certain symbol combinations keep repeating across different writing systems." He paused, double-checking his findings. "They're all saying something about Earth." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine, despite his suit's temperature controls. He had expected to find signs of ancient alien civilization on Mars. That's why they were here. But messages about Earth, that was unexpected. The team worked for hours, their initial excitement giving way to a focused intensity as they documented everything. Their AI translation systems began to pick up patterns, starting with the simpler mathematical messages and using those as a key to begin decoding the others. As the first translations began to come through, Marcus felt his mouth go dry. "Base, are you getting this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The messages, spanning what must have been tens of thousands of years and dozens of different alien civilizations, all carried variations of the same warning. "Never wake them. The sleeping giants must remain undisturbed. Observe only. Do not intervene. Let them sleep or doom follows." Each message, whether carved in crystalline patterns or written in pulsing bioorganic script, spoke of Earth with a mixture of fear and reverence. They called it the cradle, the forge, the world of giants, and every single one warned about the consequences of interfering with whatever was sleeping there. As Marcus stared at the walls, trying to process what they had found, his light caught something different, a panel that seemed newer than the rest, perhaps only a few thousand years old. As their translation program processed it, he felt his blood run cold. This message was clearer, more direct. They evolve quickly now. Their sleep grows lighter. When they wake, they must be ready, or the galaxy will tremble. Marcus looked at his team, then back at the walls of ancient warnings. In trying to find evidence of alien life, they had instead discovered something far more profound. Humanity had never been alone. They had been watched, studied, and most disturbing of all, deliberately left undisturbed. The question was, 2 weeks after the initial discovery, Marcus barely recognized his own base camp. The small research station had transformed into a hub of constant activity, with experts from Earth arriving almost daily. The Chamber of Messages, now dubbed the Library by the team, had yielded more mysteries with each passing day. He sat at his desk, rubbing his tired eyes as he reviewed the latest translations. The holographic display showed layers of decoded text, each telling a different part of an incredible story. Next to him, Dr. Anna White, the team's new xenolinguist, pointed to a particularly dense section of symbols. "Look at this," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "This message is from what we believe to be one of the oldest civilizations. They call themselves something that roughly translates to the first observers. They describe Earth as the cradle of giants." Marcus leaned forward, studying the translation. The message spoke of Earth's unique conditions, its powerful gravity, dense atmosphere, and extreme weather patterns. To these ancient aliens, Earth wasn't just another life-bearing world. It was a forge that created something unprecedented. They were terrified. Anna continued, scrolling through more translations. "Not of what we were, but of what we could become. Listen to this part. In one of their years, their young grow more than our kind develop in 10 cycles. Their bones strengthen against their world's pull. Their minds adapt to challenges that would break our greatest thinkers." Tom walked in, carrying fresh data from the newest scans. "You need to see this," he said, placing a tablet on the desk. "We found references to something called the Great Extinction. Apparently, Earth wasn't the first planet to develop complex life in our solar system." The room grew quiet as they read the account. Long before Earth's dinosaurs, another world had harbored intelligent life. But a cosmic catastrophe, a massive solar flare, had sterilized their planet. Only Earth's powerful magnetic field had protected its developing life forms. "They watched us survive," Marcus whispered, piecing it together. "Not just that extinction, but others. The dinosaur-killing asteroid, the ice ages, massive volcanic eruptions. Each time life on Earth was threatened, it didn't just survive. It adapted and grew stronger." Anna pulled up another translation, this one encoded in crystalline patterns that pulsed with their own light. "This civilization visited Earth during the last ice age. They describe watching early humans hunt mammoths. The message says, they do not flee from giants, they hunt them. They do not submit to their world's cruelty. They embrace it and grow stronger." The implications were staggering. While other intelligent species had evolved in gentler environments, carefully protected by their worlds, Earth's harsh conditions had created something different. Every creature on Earth, from the smallest insect to the largest predator, displayed a level of resilience that seemed impossible to these ancient observers. Jack burst into the room, his face flushed with excitement. "We cracked another layer of the bioorganic text," he said, connecting his device to the main display. "These observers were watching us much more recently, maybe just a few thousand years ago. They recorded everything. Our discovery of fire, the development of tools, the birth of civilization." The message stretched across the screen. "They build now. Each generation surpasses the last. Their cities grow larger, their tools more complex. They harness fire, metal, and stone as if born to command the elements. Most remarkable, they teach each other. Knowledge passes not just to offspring, but to entire new generations. They are becoming more than we imagined possible." Marcus sat back, letting it all sink in. The chamber wasn't just a collection of warnings. It was a record of humanity's evolution from the perspective of terrified observers. Each message added to the picture. Earth wasn't a normal world, and humans weren't a normal species. They were something that the galaxy had never seen before. "There's more," Anna said quietly, pointing to a final passage. "This last part is a prediction. They will reach for the stars soon. When they do, they must be ready. The galaxy has never known their kind. Their strength could save us all, or their hunger could consume everything. The room fell silent as they contemplated the weight of what they had discovered. Humanity had never been alone in the solar system. They had been watched, studied, and deliberately left to develop on their own. The question now was, had they developed in the way these ancient observers had hoped, or were they about to prove their worst fears correct? Marcus stared at the new data streaming across his screen, his coffee long forgotten and cold. The team had been working nonstop for a month now, and what they were discovering was changing everything they thought they knew about human evolution. Tom had just finished analyzing the environmental data encoded in one of the crystalline messages, and the results were shocking. Earth isn't just our home, Tom explained to the gathered team, his voice tight with excitement. According to these readings, it's what the aliens called a death world. Look at these comparisons. The display showed a series of planetary conditions. Most habitable worlds that had produced intelligent life were gentle places, low gravity, stable climates, minimal environmental hazards. Earth, by comparison, was a nightmare of survival. Our gravity is crushing by their standards, Anna added, pointing to the data. The atmospheric pressure would feel like being deep underwater to most of them. The temperature swings between seasons would kill unprotected visitors. Even our bacteria are more aggressive than anything they'd ever encountered. Jack walked in with a new set of translations, his face pale. It gets worse, or better, depending on how you look at it. I found references to their attempts to study Earth life. They tried to take samples to understand how we could survive here. The results terrified them. He pulled up the records. The ancient observers had collected simple Earth organisms, insects, small mammals, even plants. In their controlled environments, Earth life had proved to be almost unstoppable. A common earthworm had survived conditions that would kill most alien life forms. A cockroach had demonstrated healing abilities that seemed impossible. A house cat had shown strength and agility that would make it an apex predator on most worlds. And then there's us, Marcus said quietly, pulling up the human-specific data. We're not just adapted to Earth. We're a product of every challenge it threw at us. These messages, they're not just warnings about waking us. They're warnings about what we are. The room grew silent as they read through the observations. Humans could survive temperature ranges that would kill most species. They could heal from injuries that would be fatal to other life forms. Their endurance was off the charts. Humans could literally run their prey to death, a hunting technique that seemed like a horror story to the alien observers. There's something else, Anna said, her fingers flying over her keyboard. These recent messages, they're not just about our physical capabilities. They were watching our mental development too. Listen to this. They solve problems by choice, not by instinct. When their world presents a challenge, they do not adapt over generations. They create solutions within days. Their tools evolve faster than biology. A new alert flashed on the main screen. One of their automated systems had finished decoding a particularly complex message, one that used some kind of quantum encoding. As they read it, the true reason for all the warnings became clear. They were afraid we'd get out too soon, Tom whispered. Not just into space, but into the galaxy at large. Look, they've been deliberately avoiding contact, letting us develop on our own, because they wanted us to build up mental and emotional resilience to match our physical capabilities. The message spelled it out clearly. Humanity wasn't just physically powerful. They were potentially the most adaptable, aggressive, and innovative species the galaxy had ever produced. The high gravity of Earth had given them strength. Its harsh conditions had given them resilience. The constant challenges had developed their problem-solving abilities to an extraordinary degree. Marcus pulled up the final section of the quantum message, and the room fell silent again. The observers had created complex models of how humanity might develop. In every scenario where they were contacted too early, before developing the wisdom to match their strength, the results were catastrophic. Not just for humanity, but for all galactic civilization. We're not what they expected, Anna said, breaking the silence. According to these models, we're developing faster than any species they've ever encountered. Our technology, our society, our understanding. It's all accelerating at a rate they didn't think was possible. The implications hung heavy in the room. They weren't just reading ancient history. They were reading a warning about themselves, about what humanity truly was, a species forged in conditions that would kill most alien life forms, possessing strength they didn't fully understand, and developing at a pace that terrified the watchers. The question wasn't whether they would wake up to their true nature, but whether they would be ready when they did. The journey to Titan took 6 months, but Marcus knew it would be worth it. After discovering coordinates hidden within the Mars messages, his team had convinced the World Space Agency to fund an expedition to Saturn's largest moon. Now, looking through the viewport of their research base, he could hardly believe what they had found. The structure goes at least 2 kilometers into the ice, Tom said, pointing at the scan results. And it's still powered. After all this time, it's still running. The ancient observation post had been built into Titan's ice crust, hidden from casual detection, but perfectly positioned to watch Earth. Inside the facility, after careful entry procedures, they found something beyond their wildest expectations, a fully functional alien database. The technology was so advanced it seemed to repair itself, maintaining records that spanned over 100,000 years of Earth observation. "Look at this," Anna called out, her voice echoing through the alien corridors. She had managed to access what appeared to be a viewing station. The holographic display sprang to life, showing Earth as it appeared during the last ice age. They watched in amazement as woolly mammoths trudged across frozen plains, followed by groups of humans armed with spears. They documented everything, Jack said, scanning through the records. Different observer species took shifts, watching Earth for thousands of years at a time. They called it the Great Vigil. The record showed how each watching species had their own reaction to humanity's development. The screen showed a group of early humans taking down a mammoth. The alien notes expressed disbelief. The prey is 8 times their mass. The weapons are simple pointed sticks, yet they attack without fear, coordinating their movements with unprecedented precision. Their success rate is remarkable. Marcus found records from a different period, showing the construction of the pyramids. The observers had been stunned by humanity's determination. They moved stones weighing hundreds of their units, without powered machinery, across vast distances. When faced with an impossible task, they do not accept its impossibility. They find a way. The team worked through the night, piecing together humanity's story through alien eyes. They found records of the ancient Greeks developing mathematics, the Romans building their empire, the Chinese inventing gunpowder. Each achievement had been carefully documented, often with notes of growing concern. "This is interesting," Tom said, pulling up a particularly detailed file. "They didn't just watch our technological development. They were studying our conflicts too." The records showed human warfare throughout history, but the alien analysis was unexpected. They weren't just concerned about human violence, they were amazed by human cooperation. Anna translated another section. Most species wage war until one side is destroyed. Humans wage war, then forge alliances with their former enemies. They turn battlefields into cities. They transform weapons into tools. Their capacity for both destruction and creation exceeds anything we have seen. As they dug deeper into the records, they found something surprising. The observers had been conducting detailed studies of human adaptability. They had measured how quickly humans could adjust to new environments, how fast they could learn new skills, how effectively they could solve problems. "These readings are off their charts," Jack said, studying the data. "According to their metrics, we adapt to new situations 10 times faster than the galactic average. Our problem-solving abilities are literally beyond their scale of measurement." Marcus found records from more recent times: the Industrial Revolution, the Digital Age, the first steps into space. The observers' notes became increasingly urgent. Their rate of advancement exceeds all projections. They have progressed from simple tools to spaceflight in less time than most species take to develop written language. If this continues, in the most recent records, dated just a few decades ago, they found evidence that the current observers were facing a crisis. Humanity was developing faster than any species they had ever watched. The old protocols, designed to keep Earth isolated until humans were ready, hadn't accounted for such rapid advancement. They're still out there, Marcus realized, looking at the latest data streams. This facility is still receiving updates. The current watchers are in the Kuiper Belt, and they're trying to decide what to do about us. He paused, letting that sink in. We're not just reading history anymore. We're part of an ongoing experiment, and the observers are running out of time to make their decision. The team looked at each other, the weight of this revelation heavy in the alien air of the observation post. They weren't alone in the solar system. They never had been. And somewhere out there, ancient watchers were trying to decide if humanity was ready to learn the truth about their place in the galaxy. The discovery in the Titan facility's deepest level changed everything. Marcus and his team had found what appeared to be a sealed chamber, its entrance marked with symbols they now recognize as warning signs. After 3 days of careful work, they finally managed to open it. It's a protocol vault, Anna said, her eyes wide as she studied the holographic displays that had activated automatically. These aren't just records, they're instructions, plans for what to do when humanity finally reaches the stars. The alien database hummed to life, projecting detailed scenarios and response plans that had been refined over thousands of years. Each watching civilization had added to these protocols, building a complex framework for humanity's eventual contact with galactic society. Tom worked at a control panel, bringing up more detailed files. They created models of every possible first contact scenario. He said, scrolling through the projections. Look at this. They even calculated how humanity would react to different types of alien appearances, technologies, and social structures. The protocols were incredibly detailed. They specified everything from the ideal conditions for first contact to the exact words that should be used. The observers had studied human languages, cultures, and psychology to determine the least threatening way to reveal their existence. According to this, Jack said, reading through another section, they believe we need to achieve certain milestones before contact can be safely initiated. He pulled up a list that the observers had compiled. Look, it's not just about technology. They're waiting for social and psychological developments too. Marcus leaned in to study the requirements. The observers wanted humanity to develop not just space travel, but a unified approach to space exploration. They needed to see humans demonstrate environmental responsibility, peaceful conflict resolution, and most importantly, a deep understanding of their own strength. Here's something strange. Anna called out from another console. These protocols, they're not just about protecting other species from us. They're trying to protect us too. She brought up a series of simulations showing what could happen if humanity learned the truth too soon. The scenarios played out on the holographic display. In some, the shock of discovering they were being watched led to panic and aggression. In others, learning about their true physical capabilities compared to other species led to overconfidence and conflict. The observers had seen it happen before, with other species that learned too much too quickly. This section is marked as critically important, Tom said, accessing a heavily encrypted file. It's about something they call the mirror moment, when humanity first truly understands what they are in comparison to other life forms. The file contained observations of other species who had faced similar revelations. Some had become destructive, using their advantages to dominate others. Some had withdrawn completely, afraid of their own potential. The observers believed humanity needed to find a balance between these extremes. Jack found another set of protocols, these ones more recent. They've been updating these plans, he said. The current observers are worried because we're not following their predicted path. We're advancing too quickly, making connections they didn't expect. The latest additions to the protocols showed increasing concern about humanity's rapid technological progress. The observers had expected it to take centuries for humans to develop certain technologies. Instead, it was happening in decades. Their careful plans for gradual revelation were being disrupted by humanity's unprecedented rate of advancement. "Look at this timeline," Marcus said, pointing to a projection. "According to their original estimates, we shouldn't have reached Mars for another 50 years. We shouldn't have found the warning messages for another century. We're forcing their hand, making them adapt their plans faster than they can update them." Anna discovered a final section of the protocols, marked with symbols they recognized as indicating highest priority. "This is their contingency plan," she said quietly. "If we develop too fast, if we find them before they're ready to be found." She paused, reading further. "They have to decide whether to reveal themselves early or risk us discovering the truth in an uncontrolled way." The team stood in silence, surrounded by the accumulated wisdom and worry of countless alien civilizations. The protocols they had discovered weren't just guidelines. They were a carefully crafted plan to shepherd humanity into the galactic community. But now, with humans advancing faster than anyone had predicted, those plans were starting to fall apart. Marcus looked at the active data feeds, knowing that somewhere out in the Kuiper Belt, the current observers were probably watching them right now, their carefully laid plans unraveling as humanity charged forward into the cosmos at their own pace, following their own path. The question was, would the observers stick to their protocols, or would they be forced to adapt to humanity's relentless drive to discover the truth? The signal was faint but unmistakable. After 3 months of scanning the Kuiper Belt using the patterns they'd learned from the Titan facility, Marcus's team had finally found what they were looking for: the current observer's hidden outpost. "We've got movement," Tom announced, his eyes fixed on the tracking station's display. The deep space sensors showed a small object changing course, adjusting its orbit in a way that was clearly artificial. "They know we've spotted them." The team gathered in the command center of their new research station on Titan. The ancient facility had become their permanent base of operations, its powerful systems giving them capabilities they had never dreamed possible. Anna worked at the communications console, using protocols they had learned from the alien database. "They're responding," she said, surprise evident in her voice. The incoming transmission was coded in a way that matched the most recent entries in the observation post's records. "They're actually talking to us." The first message was simple but profound. "You were not meant to find us so soon. But perhaps that is the problem with all our predictions about your kind. You never do what is expected." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine as he composed a reply. After months of reading about humanity through alien eyes, after learning how they had been watched and studied for thousands of years, he was about to have a real conversation with the current watchers. The exchange that followed was careful, measured. The observers confirmed what the team had already discovered. They were the latest in a long line of civilizations tasked with monitoring Earth's development. But unlike their predecessors, they faced an unprecedented situation. "Your species develops faster than any we have encountered," the observers explained. "In the time it takes most civilizations to improve their stone tools, you have gone from first flight to space exploration. It causes us great concern." Jack worked on analyzing the signal's origin, trying to pinpoint the observer's exact location. "They're using some kind of advanced cloaking technology," he reported. "But from the signal strength, I guess they're about 40 astronomical units out." The observers continued their message. "We have watched your recent achievements with both admiration and fear. You split the atom less than a century ago, and already you harness its power. You discovered the basic principles of genetics, and now you reshape the code of life itself. The gap between discovery and mastery, for your kind, is frighteningly small." Tom found something interesting in the transmission patterns. "They're not just sending messages," he said. "They're sharing data, lots of it." The incoming stream contained detailed records of humanity's recent history, but from the observer's perspective. They watched in amazement as events they had lived through were shown through alien eyes. The first lunar landing, seen as a moment of both triumph and concern. The development of the Internet, viewed as an unprecedented leap in global consciousness. The recent advances in artificial intelligence, watched with growing alarm at the speed of progress. We face a dilemma. The observer's message continued. Your rate of advancement exceeds all our models. Soon, you will discover faster than light travel, perhaps decades or even centuries before our protocols suggest you should. We must decide whether to maintain our distance or prepare for inevitable contact. Anna found references in their transmissions to emergency meetings, urgent consultations with other watching species. The observers were divided on how to handle humanity's unexpected progress. Some argued for immediate contact, believing it better to guide humanity directly. Others insisted on maintaining the policy of non-interference, fearing that early contact would be catastrophic. Your discovery of our warning messages on Mars, your finding of this observation post. These were not meant to happen for many generations, the observers explained. Yet here you are, reaching out to us barely a century after achieving powered flight. We are not prepared for this speed of development. Marcus composed a careful response, trying to convey both humanity's peaceful intentions and their determination to understand their place in the cosmos. But even as he did so, he knew the observer's dilemma. Everything they had learned showed humanity as a species of incredible potential for both creation and destruction. The observer's final message of the day carried a weight of decision. We have watched your kind grow from hunter-gatherers to space explorers. We have seen your capacity for both great violence and remarkable cooperation. Now we must decide. Are you ready to know the full truth about yourselves and your place in the galaxy? Or will that knowledge come too soon, unleashing something none of us can control? As the signal faded, the team looked at each other, understanding the gravity of the moment. They had forced the observer's hand, accelerating a process that was meant to take centuries more. Now, somewhere in the dark reaches of the solar system, ancient watchers were deciding humanity's fate.